So here we are in the kitchen again, talking about apples and pears, fantastic fall fruit, which can be literally found for the picking sometimes this time of year, if you're lucky enough to have a generous neighbor like I do. So everyone's heard the old adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but just eating plain apples gets a little tiresome sometimes. So most people don't really think of apples as a side dish, like applesauce. Of course, a lot of people eat that. But it's also really delicious to just take some apples and saute them as a side dish. A side dish of sauteed apples, or even a mix of apples and pears, is delicious. So I'm going to put those in the pan here. I just put a couple tablespoons of olive oil, or you can use butter, either way. And we'll just let those simmer here on the stove while I'm preparing the next apple dish. So I like to use apples in all kinds of sweet and savory dishes. I was one time living with a bicycle racer, and he was all interested in the glycemic index diet. So all of these foods that you see here, apples, pears, red peppers, onions, tomatoes, are low glycemic index foods, which means they digest very slowly and don't spike your blood sugar. So I came up with this apple, tomato, onions, glycemic index salad recipe. All you do is dice up your apples, red peppers, tomatoes, onions, mix them together in a bowl, as I have already done here. I'm going to sprinkle them with a little of this purple basil, which I still have growing out in my garden, and some fresh chopped celery and parsley leaves also from my garden. So mix those all up. A little sprinkle of balsamic vinaigrette, which I keep ready to go in my refrigerator all the time, and a sprinkling of salt and pepper, and there you have it. A low glycemic index savory salad with apples and tomatoes, two fantastic fall foods which are now in abundance. So we'll stir our tomatoes. Another thing that my family always loved to do with apples and pears, especially this time of year, any time of year really, we could always buy good apples, and especially good locally grown apples, is stuffed apples. So for that, you have to cut the cores out of your apples, which is a little bit tricky, but just go slow and you'll be fine. Just cut right in there, pull the cores out until you have a hollow apple like this. Sometimes I cut the bottom off flat, and it'll fit flat in my pan. So I've got this cute little pan. I've already hollowed out these apples and pears. And for my filling, I'm going to make an oatmeal almond filling. So I've got my oatmeal here. These are ground almonds, or almond meal, which I keep stored in the freezer so that they won't be getting rancid. I'm going to use about an equal part of almonds and oatmeal. And instead of butter, I'm going to use coconut oil. Coconut oil is really delicious and nutritious, and it's a non-dairy alternative for people if you're... Okay. It never goes bad. That's the amazing thing about coconut oil. It really won't get rancid even at room temperature. So you can use it any time that you would be using butter or other shortenings. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of that to oil my pan too. Smear that around. So I've got coconut oil, almond meal, coconut, and I'm going to use some organic sugar. Believe it or not, they have organic sugar at Walmart. I normally never go to Walmart, but I have a friend that's working there, and he says it's a really good place to work for, believe it or not. So I thought I'd check it out, and I found organic sugar recipes. So we're going to put some sugar in there, and then I've got a little bit of vanilla extract. And I've mixed the spices up. You can use pumpkin pie spice, apple pie spice, nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, whatever your family likes. Sprinkle that in there. So that's the stuffed apple filling. Get that all mixed up. It'll look like crumbly biscuit dough. It doesn't have to be too moist. And then you can taste it, of course, before you eat it. Make sure it's sweet enough. People like really sweet dessert, so you might want to add a little extra sugar to it. You just stuff that inside your apples and pears. Pack it down in there. And then you pour a little bit of juice in here. You can use apple juice, orange juice, grape juice, any kind of juice you like. So you just put a little bit of that and that'll keep them from burning and keep them kind of moist. Pop them in the oven and bake them at approximately 350 degrees, checking every once in a while to make sure your liquid's not completely absorbed. So those are going to go in the oven. We'll check them later. Meanwhile, our apples and pears are done. You see how they're getting nicely golden brown. They really only need to cook for 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't matter if they're not all fully cooked. That just gives a little bit of texture variety. So you don't. And then at the very end, if you like them a little sweeter, you can add a little bit of sprinkling of sugar or some maple syrup or honey or whatever your family's favorite sweetener is. So there you have it, sauteed apples and pears, a delicious and very easy side dish. Something your kids can help you prepare. So, would anyone from the studio audience like to come and taste something today? Come on over. Could you bring your own spoon? This is the tomato apple onion salad.
Can I just dip that in?
Sure. Good, isn't it? Surprising. It's a surprising taste combination of sweet and savory. That's very nutritious and good for you. And as many salads, the flavors kind of blend and taste even better when you let it sit for a little while.
Yum.
There you go. Go ahead. Would you like to taste the sauteed apples too? For these sauteed apples and pears too, it's nice if you want to add a little cinnamon or nutmeg or other spices to them. This is just a basic, super easy recipe.
Yummy.
Thank you. Alrighty, so that's it for today. Thanks for coming again. We'll see you next time in Joey's Experimental Kitchen.